This is Jessica, and welcome to Vote 2 Minute Warning. I know I am a graphic wizard with my cards. Be prepared, that's not the only one. Welcome to week 3 of our time together. Last week, I think I mentioned that we were 15 weeks away from the election. I think I did my math wrong. A good friend of mine told me to never do math in public, and she was right. So I believe now we are 15 weeks away from election day. We're just over 100 days away, so I think we're at 15 weeks officially now. And if you haven't been listening to me, the last 2 weeks, mark this date on your calendar, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. If it's not already on your calendar, put on your calendar. Big day. I want us all out there voting. Large numbers. I want us all out there. So in our time together, I talked about the 3 pillars that I wanted to address: the why to vote, how to vote, and then why not? What could happen that would prevent you from voting? So just to recap a little bit, in week 1 we talked about the why. So we talked about the big why. We talked a little bit about the history of voting and where we've come, and what an important right it is for us to be able to vote. Then I talked about your individual why. So figuring out what it is that matters to you, to your family, to your friends, to the folks around you. What do you stand for? What are the things that are important for you? Using the metaphor of you are still in the hiring process for these folks that are kind of in your general network, right? And what do you need to be able to run, in this case, Jess Inc., as effectively as possible? So, keep your why in mind. And that why may change over the course of time. I mean, 2020 has been a roller coaster. It has been crazy, so this why could change between now and November, but just keep those in mind. That way you're always kind of have in the back of your mind what you're looking for, what you want, what are the attributes that you want in the person that you want hired for this role, right? And then last week we talked about the how, logistics of actually voting, right? I mentioned as many times as I can, register to vote is important, right? So go out. It takes less than 2 minutes. Get registered. Reserve your seat at the table. It's the coolest club. It's a very important club. It's the cool kids of the United States who vote club. So get your seat at that table. I also wanted to mention, in leading up to doing today's segment, I was looking in on a lot of different things that can happen that may prohibit somebody from being able to vote. And one of the things that I also noticed was that states sometimes do great big purges of voter information. I think it's they talk about it because they're trying to get rid of folks that maybe are no longer with us and things like that. So just do yourself a favor, take the 2 minutes, check and make sure your voter registration is intact. Even if you voted recently, just make sure it's there and you're ready to rock and roll for November 3rd. Then I talked about locate. So locate your polling location. Make sure you know where that's going to be. I also read that a lot of that is changing. There's consolidation happening in some areas. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. But do yourself a favor. Make sure you kind of familiarize yourself where your polling location where your polling location is, to make sure that you know where you're going. That day you can kind of get familiarized with where that is. But I would also say locate can also mean online. Look for your ballot online. You'll be able to search that as long as your primary is done and everything's kind of set in stone. You can look that up and get familiarized with your ballot. And then I don't know if you've kind of caught on to a theme here, but then it all culminates on November 3rd. You actually get the opportunity to vote. So that is making your selection for who you want hired for these important positions that will impact your day-to-day life. So that's the day we vote. And then I think I mentioned, if you watched us last week, that I'm very interested in this concept of bringing back the idea of celebrating on election day. So I talked about the election day festivities, and I will just mention I've received no evites for anybody's election day festivities. I'm not hurt. I'm just curious. I'm a good time. Invite me. Let's have one. Everybody get involved in the election day festivities. I also saw a cool meme that I wanted to mention because it's from one of my favorite shows, Parks and Rec. But vote, then treat yourself. What a fabulous idea. Do something awesome. Reward yourself with something awesome. So I think that's also another great, call it Treat Yourself Day. So I think that's a great idea too. So to talk about this week, And when I was thinking about doing these videos, one of the things I was really kind of obsessed with is thinking about what would prevent somebody from voting, right? And we talked about kind of the easy answers to getting you to the point of wanting to vote, right? So think about your why, think about the history of all this, what an impact voting can mean for you as an individual, and then here are the actual applications. But now we kind of get into what could be happening where you live that would stop somebody from being able to vote. It's really kind of talking about, somebody that has decided that they want to, but they can't actually take that step to be able to. And I read up on, some of the things that are happening around us that could prevent people from being able to vote. The pandemic isn't helping. You can imagine that this has created a huge wrinkle in the general election practices, but there's always been challenges. I talked about the fact that as long as you're 18 years old on November 3rd and you are a U.S. citizen here, you have the right to vote. But it's not always that simple. And that's where I want us to, as a community, to start looking at what are the things that could be preventing people from going. I've looked into the fact that it looks like in some areas they're consolidating voting polling places. So they're shrinking them down into having fewer. Last week I talked about the fact that my polling place is 3 or 4 blocks away, which is awesome and super convenient for me. But if that were to change and I needed to go further out, the good news for me is that I have the ability to do that. But I don't necessarily think that everybody has that luxury and can get to polling places that are further away from their home. So that becomes a larger challenge that I think we as a community can help address. So these are the types of things that could be happening around us. Maybe somebody can't get off of work that day, or they have challenges around child care, or, like I said, transportation, or what could be preventing them from actually taking on this right and being able to do those things. So I want us as a community, if you hear of something in your area, I want to know about it. I believe in the kind of the network and the extended network of the people I know all over the United States. I think we have the ability to help, and we've got enough time that maybe collectively we can hear about some of these things that are happening and change the outcome and get people in the ability to vote. So that's my call to action for you guys. I know, in past weeks I've said, I don't need to know your why. I don't need to, know who you're voting for or anything like that. But this week I'm asking to hear about what's happening, and I realize I can't alone help everybody. Maybe collectively we can help a few people take that next step to voting. So I will mention that one more time. I want to talk about some of the upcoming dates for to register to vote in primaries that are coming up. So we've got July 20th, Michigan, Alabama, and Florida. July 21st, Minnesota. July 22nd, Wisconsin. July 27th, Washington. And July 31st, Idaho and Oklahoma. Keep in mind, July 20th is today, but it only takes 2 minutes to register, so you still have time to take that on. I also wanted to mention, I talk about rockthevote.org quite a bit, so I wrote it down for everybody. This is a great site geared towards younger folks, but it's got all the information you need, really easy to access. This is a great place to start to get some information that might help you take some steps to vote. So this has been Jessica. This has been Vote 2 Minute Warning. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.